Serena Williams is the only woman on this Forbes list of the 100 highest-paid athletes. Photo credit, app photo, Pavel Golovkin. Forbes' list of the highest-paid athletes for 2019 was released this week, and only one woman made it into top 100. In a time when women are struggling for recognition in sports, this is a stark reminder of just how little progress women have made and how far they still have to go. The lone woman on the list was Serena Williams, who tied Miguel Cabrera for number 63 with total earnings of $29.2 million. In contrast with the large majority of the men on the list, most of Williams' earnings came from endorsement deals, $25 million, and only a relatively small portion was attributed to her salary and winnings, $4.2 million. Williams was also the only woman on the list in 2017, and in 2018, there were no women on the highest-paid athletes list. These dismal stats come at a time when pay discrepancies in soccer are making headlines. Ada Hegerberg, considered one of the world's best women's soccer players, is sitting out the 2019 Women's World Cup to protest the disparity in pay, conditions and recognition between the men's and women's leagues. In the United States, all 28 members of the women's team filed a class-action gender discrimination lawsuit against the U.S. Soccer Federation with similar complaints. These women point out how they do the same job as the men's team in exchange for lower wages and inferior working conditions. In fact, the U.S. women make only 38 cents for every dollar earned by the men's team, despite the stellar performance on the field. The men's national team has never won a world title and did not qualify for last year's World Cup. The truth is, the pay gap in sports is typically a reflection of revenue generated by men's versus women's sports. In soccer, the 2010 Men's World Cup earned about $4 billion, while the Women's World Cup in 2011 brought in about $73 million. So, the women actually took home a higher percentage of the revenues than did the men. The men got 9% of revenues while women got 13%, so why do women's sports attract fewer fans and generate less revenue? Men are physically stronger than women and thus can run faster and throw farther. Men's sports enthusiasts argue that this makes the women's game seem slow by comparison and not as fun to watch. Yet, 5 of the top 100 athlete earners are male golfers. All golf seems slow. The speed of game argument just doesn't seem to hold up. Dr. Emily Ryle, a philosopher who focuses on sports, made the argument in the New York Times last week that great sport requires only 3 things: excellence of skill, uncertainty of outcome, and a crescendo of drama until the last second. Therefore, she claims, gender or sex should be irrelevant. Ryle argues that it's not speed or strength, but sexism that is the root cause for the lack of interest in women's sports. She concedes that the quality of play may not be as high on some women's teams, but that again is due to sexism. The lack of pay, she argues, makes the return on investment on endless hours of training just not worth it for women. And there are still social pressures that keep young girls from engaging in sports the way that young boys do. In many countries, she points out, girls pay to play while boys' leagues are free. It seems like a chicken and egg situation. Since women are not paid equally to men, the game is not respected, and therefore less revenue is generated. Since less revenue is generated, female athletes continue to receive less pay. There seems to be only one way out of this cycle. Let's start respecting female athletes and offering them pay commensurate with the skill and success in sport. Let's block ads. Why?